To Haywood's on the Green on this Tuesday evening. It is closing in on the end of September, and it is great to have you with us for this week's edition of the Lock Haven University Coaches Show. I'm Jonathan Schwab. We'll be with you for the next half an hour. If you're with us on Tuesday night, we're glad you stopped in. If you're listening on Saturday, you are an hour away from Lock Haven University football as the Bald Eagles open PSAC East divisional play on the road at Westchester. And we are thrilled to be joined to start the show off by Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor. Coach Taynor, great to have you back this week.
Great to be here.
As I said, your team getting ready to open PSAC East play. You closed out crossover play last week against Slippery Rock. And one of the highlights, the week before, Nasir Mini Gratz's first career touchdown. This past week, it was Kasim Bowie with his first career score late in the game for you. How does that feel as a coach to see these young guys who work so hard be able to pick up that first career touchdown?
Well, it's awesome to break the ice for them. You know, they get the opportunity to go through and practice, and then when they get a chance to go out on the field and get into the end zone, it breaks the ice and it gets them in a position where they feel comfortable with going out and making plays that end up in scores.
In addition to Kasim Bowie, you got outstanding work on the perimeter from Sean Seif. We talked about him last week, but we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss him again this week. 11 receptions, 183 yards. How close do you think he is to getting the respect league-wide he deserves?
Well, I think it's obvious even when you talk to Coach Lutz from Slippery Rock before and after the game that people realize that Sean Seif's a guy that you can play matchup football with. You know, Slippery Rock is a very talented program, and they make you play matchup football. They're going to get you into one-on-one situations. They're going to challenge you, and Sean Seif is the type of guy that we can isolate, match up, and we can match him up against a corner, and he can run well enough to beat them, and we can match him up against a safety, and he's shifty enough in traffic to be able to take advantage of some guys there. It was a guy that we really leaned on quite a bit last week with Dan Krupko at receiver being out, and then between him and Delvon Dennis, those two were two guys that we could use in some matchup football.
How does that change the game for the rest of your guys when you have that one guy who's forcing the defense into situations they don't want to be in?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be something we're going to see throughout the year. We'll get an opportunity to see how opponent defenses match up against them. So, I mean, it's very difficult to leave him in a one-on-one on the backside, which means you're going to have to use a safety to help account for him, which should open up some things in the run game, and that's a big area of emphasis for us this week is when teams start to adjust and overplay maybe too safe at different times that we're able to run the ball and create opportunities and matchups in other areas of the field. So, it's a matter of I think he's going to be a guy throughout the year that commands enough attention that he's going to help open up others to be able to contribute also.
Joined by Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show as we are at Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall on this Tuesday evening. We'll be here until 7:30. If you're listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, kickoff Lock Haven University football will get going at 6 p.m. as the Bald Eagles face Westchester. We talk about Sean Seif. Who are some other guys in watching the film of the game against Slippery Rock who really showed out to you?
Well, I mean, from over the past 3 weeks, from a defensive standpoint, I think Kevin Chappell's been a guy who's been a very consistent contributor, leads our team in tackles right now, is one of the top career active leaders in both tackles for loss and sacks. Continues to add 2 or 3 to his total as far as tackles for loss every single game. He's a guy that gets to the football, and it was really him and the defensive line were catalyst in really slowing down Shamar Green, who was a tailback from Slippery Rock that has over 4,500 yards rushing in his career, and we held to 53 yards in the game. So those guys did a good job in that area. There's bits and pieces to be happy with in the performance, and one of those is we matched our offensive line up against one of the best pass rush artists and best pass rush teams in the conference, and we threw it 50 times in the game, and we gave up 1 sack. So, those guys responded to that challenge pretty well.
A different look at punter against Slippery Rock. William Sensendorfer received an opportunity, and the net punting from him was effective. How did you conclude that he would be the guy going forward?
Well, him and Ethan Harrow had been very even during practice, and Ethan was handling both punting from the traditional formation, along with having Caleb Walton do that from the offensive formation, and Ethan Harrell was also doing kicking. We felt it was, since they were pretty even, we felt it was in our best interest to have Ethan really focus on kicking and allow us to be able to use a combination of both Sinsendorfer and Caleb Walton in punting, and take some of that pressure off of Ethan Harrell from doing both. And it's more in the long term too, because it's the number of repetitions that he takes during practice. So when he's our kicker for our kickoff team, for our field goal PAT team, he's also the kicker for our scout teams and punt teams and different things. So he's getting a lot of repetitions. So by reducing the total number of repetitions and allowing him to focus on being a kicker, we're hoping that continues to build his repertoire as a kicker.
When we return from Haywood's on the Green on the LHU Coaches Show, we'll have more with LHU head football coach David Taynor. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. Welcome back to Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. It is Tuesday night. It's the Lock Haven University Coaches Show on the Bear Country Sports Network. If you're listening on Saturday, maybe getting ready for the sun to go down at 5:10 in the afternoon, we are less than an hour away from Lock Haven University football as the Bald Eagles look to move to 1-0 in PSAC East play against the Golden Rams of West Chester. Jonathan Schwab with Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor. And Coach, we talked about Kasim Bowie catching that first career touchdown reception. It came from your backup quarterback, Cameron Tobias, his first action of the season. You told us in the preseason he's a much improved player. How did you feel he handled his first live reps of the year?
Well, I think he did an excellent job. I mean, when he got in early in the game, we kind of talked Slippery Rock out of some of their base coverages, and they gave a little bit more over-the-top help than what they traditionally had. When Cam got in, they played some of their base defenses, which, some of the game plan reps that he had taken through the week was against a lot of the base defense stuff that we thought we'd see, and he handled it really well. Got in, he threw the ball on time, made quick decisions. He put the ball in good positions. He went, 4 or 5 on the drive, threw a touchdown pass. He limited repetitions, but he graded out 100% in those repetitions. So, had a very good series. And he's a guy that I have confidence in as a football player, and he proved it last year when his number got called against Millersville, and he came in on a third and 18, completed a pass, and then stood in the pocket, took a hit, and threw the winning touchdown. So he's a guy that has some definite savvy to him. He's a guy that I think we can depend on if we need to get out there and continue to steer the ship.
On the defensive side of the ball, playing a lot of young guys. One of them, Destin Woody, 14 tackles and a forced fumble. What has he done to earn the faith of the coaching staff?
Well, Destin had a very good camp and continues to build on that. And like all young guys, there's statistically he had some good stats, but he also did some things that we've got to get corrected. But he got the ball, and they challenged us a little bit on the perimeter, which he's as an outside linebacker was getting challenged a little bit, but he responded and got to the football and made some plays. So I think there was a lot of things for him to learn from on this Saturday, and we'll continue to progress and grow. But he's a guy that we've got to get some quality repetitions out of.
You raise a good point. Stats can be a little bit deceiving at times. What are the stats when you're going back through and grading your players after a game that are most relevant to you?
When it comes to actual grading someone, as far as their performance, stats really don't fall into it that much. There are some statistical measures that you look at to kind of see your overall performance on either offense or defense that are there. Because, at times, I'll give you an example. Last year, we played in a game that I won't say the guy's name, but it was going into the East Stroudsburg game, and the week before we played him, this young man got Conference Player of the Week because he had, I think, 18 tackles in the game. Well, it was because he got targeted that many times, and then we pretty much decided to do the same thing again the next week. So sometimes statistics can be a little bit misleading. From a defensive standpoint, guys that are making tackles for loss are guys that are disruptive. So if you have someone that's creating disruption or forced fumbles, and Destin played well at times. I mean, a forced fumble means you're getting to the ball and you're making something happen when you get there. So those are statistics that are created by guys that are disruptive, and you're really looking for disruptive and play that hustles to the football, and you don't necessarily can't measure that statistically. You got to measure it. We always say the true value of a defensive player is the distance between he and the ball when the whistle blows. So how close are you to the ball when the whistle blows? That's your true value.
Well, then you get the ruler out on the film and start measuring, joined by Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. Westchester, the upcoming opponent, what would be a brief synopsis of what they bring to the table?
Well, Westchester was picked to win our side of the conference. They won it last year, and then they lost in the championship game to Slippery Rock. We've had a couple common opponents. We've both lost close games to Edinboro. We both lost to Slippery Rock. Their game was a little bit closer than what ours was in that. But, you don't necessarily compare those statistically. In that end, I think Westchester has a quarterback that has been very productive as far as turning the chains over, has made a few mistakes. So we have to be consistent in our coverages to be able to hopefully take advantage of some of those mistakes. And then from a defensive standpoint, they're a physical defense. They play good point of attack football. I think that their inside backers are guys that they'll plug at the point of attack. They got an interior defensive nose guard that was an all-conference player last year that's a physical kid inside. So I think they're a very physical defense. They return 2 all-conference corners and 1 all-conference safety, even though the safety didn't play in the Edinboro game, so I don't know what his exact situation is. But I would assume he'll probably be back to see him the play that he got hurt on. I don't know that it was a real serious long-term injury, but you just don't know. He's listed as being a possible starter in this game, but sometimes those things aren't always that most accurate.
The gamesmanship we love in the media so much. Our one for fun with David Taynor to close out. What is your favorite all-time sports movie?
Favorite all-time sports movie? Probably. You asked me here, and I'm trying to think here. Legend of Bagger Vance.
All right. Will Smith, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
There we go. I think somebody out there is clapping, so somebody was very happy with your choice. Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor. Thank you for the time, and good luck at Westchester.
Okay, thank you.
Coming up next, it'll be Lock Haven University head men's soccer coach Patrick Long. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. Hey everybody, it's the LHU Coaches Show. We are at Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall, or if you're listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, it is about approximately 41, 35, somewhere in that neighborhood, minutes away from Lock Haven University football as the Bald Eagles go on the road to play Westchester. We are so excited for the first time to be joined right now by Lock Haven University head men's soccer coach Patrick Long. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Really a nice start. See, the crowd, these guys, they're a little slow to the punch. Like, they clap, and that's good, but I'm already moving on. It's time to move forward. 4-1-1 for your team. Just an outstanding start to 2016. Now, by the time our radio listeners will hear this, you will already have played 2 more games. But for the people at Haywood's tonight on this Tuesday evening, coming off a compelling 2-1 overtime win over Gannon. The game was a marathon. The day itself was a marathon, delayed by thunderstorms up in Erie. What was that whole day, including the game, like for you?
It was crazy. It was something that I guess the first thing I would start off by saying is Doug Spatafor texted me saying, "Coach, we hired you for soccer and not water polo." I mean, it was madness. The women's game was delayed and then ultimately postponed. And then we kicked off an hour and 15 minutes late in Erie, rain. Fortunately, it wasn't cold yet. But we came out quick, and the guys were excited. Got on the board first. But the whole evening was just – it was something I hadn't experienced at all. And the guys, again, once they showed mental toughness and overcame adversity to come out on top.
What was your message to the players to try to keep them calm and focused through, I don't know if adversity is the word, but just a weird situation?
Yeah, I just told them to just stay loose. They were on edge. I mean, guys needed to get back. They didn't prepare properly for potentially staying overnight. That was something that we entertained, was staying overnight in Erie. And they did a good job. And I think that a lot of that falls on the leadership, the upperclassmen. We've got a good group of seniors that just keep all the guys level-headed and make sure that they're focused. I didn't know this. I was unaware, but one of the seniors I heard before the game say, "Come on, guys, we've never lost to Gannon." And it really, I was like, wow, because Gannon's perennially a very good team. And sure enough, that trend continues. The seniors are 4-0 in their time here at the Haven against Gannon. So that's a credit to them and the job that they've done. But they were, I would say, the focal point of keeping the underclassmen, which there's a big number of them, keeping them focused.
It took until 11:02 p.m. I checked the time when it went up on the live stats, so it was a long night. But as it's been all year thus far, Troy Amsbacher putting it away for you. 2 more goals against Gannon. 9, second in the country, back-to-back PSAC Player of the Week awards. What has he done to take his game to a different level?
I think Troy's just being himself. Coach Diller, my assistant, he and I, we work on putting the guys into positions to be successful. And Troy's just one of those guys that takes control. He knows how to play effectively. He's a very good player. He reads the game well, but he knows when he needs to take it into another gear. He knows when he needs to potentially slow down, if that makes sense, and bring the game down to a speed in which all of a sudden then he can be explosive and take it over. And in the attacking third, he's so calm. He knows what he needs to do, and right now things are going well. But the guys around him are putting him into good positions as well. So yes, Troy's the one scoring the goals, and Troy deserves a lot of credit. But at the end of the day, somebody needs to be getting him the ball, or somebody needs to be defensively positioning themselves to help us win the ball back. So it is collective, and Troy's gaining all the credit right now, which he definitely deserves. I couldn't be happier for him. But the team's really gelling as well.
Joined by Lock Haven University head men's soccer coach Patrick Long on the LHU Coaches Show. We are at Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall, or if you're listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, closing in on LHU football at Westchester. And you mentioned it's a bunch of guys getting the job done, not just one getting the headlines. Who have been some of the unsung guys who have really risen to the occasion early in the year?
Yeah, 2 of the upperclassmen, both captains, obviously Troy and Tyler Weichert, senior captain from Gettysburg, both have done a good job. As captains, they set the bar and the expectation for what the underclassmen need to do and follow. And then we have a few juniors which are contributing. And then really, I want to really mention the freshman class. The freshman class, the game against Alderson Broadus on the road down in West Virginia, a long night, again, double overtime. We ended up with a tie in that game. That game ended, and we had 6 freshmen on the field. So I give a lot of credit to the youngsters that they've been kind of thrown in, and they haven't sank. They've been swimming quite well, and still a lot of room for growth and improvement, but I've really been pleased with the way the freshmen have taken to the college game. Of course, they're making mistakes, and as they will, but that's, again, I'll come back to the upperclassmen and the leadership that they're given the freshmen. To call out some names, Brian Flatter has a goal to his name thus far. He's more of an attack-minded player. Matt Boutros has done a great job defensively. Alec McCoy is another good defender that we have. Andrew Moore has been the left center back the last 4 games in which we've been 3-0-1 during that stretch. So there's just some freshmen that I'll just name at the moment that are really stepping up and doing a good job.
You told me before the segment that the one for fun I gave to Coach Taynor, you were ready for. So it's still going to be called one for fun, but it's going to feel like 2 for fun, because I'm going to give you a chance to tell everyone your favorite sports movie. So go ahead and do that now.
That's an easy one. As soon as I heard you ask Coach Taynor, it's Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Happy Gilmore, sports movie, comedy. Yeah, definitely.
Now, the one I wrote down for you, you played at Lock Haven, had great success as a player in the Lock Haven program. What's your favorite memory of being a student athlete in the Lock Haven University men's soccer program?
Favorite memory would probably be sophomore year, conference championship at McCullum Field, 2-0 win over Westchester. And I'd say that one thing during my time as a student athlete is it was an expectation to not just be in the playoffs, but to win PSAC championships and compete in the NCAA tournament. So that's an expectation that I had as a student athlete. I think the history of LHU soccer says something similar, and that's really what the expectation needs to be moving forward, that we have a beautiful new facility, we have great alumni support, the local community, and I think it's just something we have to – winning is habitual, and we've got to bring in guys that are winners and buy into a culture in which, hey, when you put on the jersey, you've got to work hard, you got to be disciplined, but we're here to win, we're here to compete for championships.
The new habit's off to a good start. 4-1-1 for those of you at Haywoods tonight. At home against Shippensburg, Lock Haven University men's soccer tomorrow. That is Wednesday at 4 p.m. Go out and support the Bald Eagles. Lock Haven University head men's soccer coach Patrick Long, thank you for the time and continued success.
Thanks, Jonathan.
That'll wrap it up from Haywoods on the Green in Mill Hall. For those of you listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, coming up next, Lock Haven University football as the Bald Eagles go on the road to face Westchester. For our entire Bear Country Sports Network crew, I'm Jonathan Schwab, and this has been the Lock Haven University Coaches Show presented by the Bear Country Sports Network.